Are you bored? Bored of casting the same old spells in your tabletop role-playing games? How about if you were able to cast a Wall of Horse, which is a 20-foot-high dome of pure equine power? If that's the case, then Coffee Steak Studios has got the content for you. You can either check them out by going to their itch.io store or becoming a Patreon of their patron campaign. There'll be links in the show notes. And now, on with the show, Wizard. Welcome to another episode of We're Not Wizards. My name's Richard. I'll be your host for December now. I appreciate the finer things in life, as I'm sure you're aware by, I like my board games, I like many things, but sometimes I don't want to be involved in kind of like the clumsiness of throwing dice and placing down meeples. I want to embrace the graceful side of myself. I want to be kind of glamorous and graceful and gentle, and I want to potentially be on point as well, which is important to me. So I thought I need to speak to somebody who can help me find my inner ballerina. And to do that, I've got Elisa Prashad, who is from Analog Game Studios, and they're here to talk about Pointe, which is the Ballet board game, which is currently on Kickstarter right now. So join us as we open the curtains and we start the first act and all the lovely music starts and stuff like that. So there you go. So hello, Elisa, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you for having me.
I'm delighted to have you on, have a chat, because I'm very, very intrigued about how you can take something like ballet and make it into cardboard and stuff like that. So I'm just interested in finding out kind of about more, basically.
Sure.
You've got a couple of days left. How's the campaign
Yes.
been kind of going so far?
It's going really well. We've funded, actually, and we're about 139% funded at the moment, with a couple days left to go. So we've achieved our objective, and we're quite pleased.
Well, that's good. That's good. Because it's your first time on Kickstarter, and is it your first time putting together a game then?
Well, this is my very first game that I came up with. The theme was something that I hadn't seen out there, and it was very special to me. It's a beautiful art form, so I thought it deserved a game to be made from it.
Have you got a direct connection to kind of like ballet itself? I mean, was that something that you've taken part in and you've been involved in yourself?
Yes. I danced for 10 years.
Wow.
From 6 to 16.
Yeah.
Took a 20-year break and then went right back to it. So I do adult classes currently.
All right.
So pretty much my life. I've been always dancing, and that's not unusual, because once people discover ballet, they become quite passionate about it, and like board games, it's something that you can enjoy lifelong.
What caused the break? Was it just a case you got to 16 and it was like, I've been doing this for 10 years, I need to kind of have a seat, I'm quite tired, kind of thing?
Yeah. Well, when you get to that age, you make a decision whether you're going to pursue it as a career, become a professional, or not. There isn't any other option, and it the life of a dancer is tremendously hard and requires the most dedication you can imagine, like a professional athlete, or and it was, something that at the time I wasn't ready to fully commit to. So I chose art and advertising and design as another way to express myself, but not through the physicality of dance.
So there's no way you can't kind of continue on kind of like a hobby type basis. It's either 16. Are you going to be? I mean, is competition quite fierce? Kind of getting into. I mean, are you then once you're 16? Are you going into looking at starting kind of professional stuff? Are you looking at going for kind of, higher level kind of training and stuff like that as well?
Exactly, and I wasn't ready to commit to anything like that. While I love ballet, it wasn't going to be my sole profession. So I turned a direction, as many people do in their teenage years. You pursue your life's course, you figure out what you want to do. And for me, it was, art and design. So that's where I ultimately ended up.
What kind of art do you mean?
So I went to the Ontario College of Art and Design and studied a 4-year program in design advertising, so graphic design and illustration and things of that nature.
See, when you're involved in a creative medium, when you're relaxing and guess chilling out for the day, because a lot of people, like when they're talking about the art stuff, they say, well, I do like to paint, or I like to design, or I like to draw, and I do that when I'm relaxing. For you, do you still kind of like to kind of draw and paint and muck around with graphics and stuff like that when you're kind of chilling out and relaxing yourself?
Definitely. And even photography, when you become a parent and you run a business and you have a busy lifestyle, you don't always have, 8 hours to dedicate to painting but you can snap a photo easily and you can still appreciate beauty in the world. But it's in a quicker fashion. So.
Do you prefer photography over kind of other art forms then? Is that kind of like your main bag that you would go to then?
I love watercolor and mosaics and printmaking. Those are areas that I have skill in and enjoy, but really to do that well, you need to dedicate a lot of time. It's not something that's a couple hours here and there. To do a really professional piece and to put that energy into it, it really is deserving of a lot of time.
And I mean, I've done watercolors myself because I'm a bit of I like to dabble, as they would say. Okay. So I've done a lot of drawing, and I still draw on occasion, but the mosaic stuff to me is kind of fascinating because I'll be honest, that would drive me up the wall because my artwork is generally quite controlled. So even when I'm doing watercolors, it's very kind of detailed kind of work that I do. So a mosaic is, you have to almost allow for the imperfections to kind of help kind of form the picture, and you might not necessarily be able to get a straight edge when you want to get a straight edge. But do you work on bigger pieces or smaller pieces for the mosaic type stuff? Medium
sized, and I embrace the imperfection. I have a hard time with folks that like stained glass because I would never be as precision oriented as they are. You can't miss by a millimeter or your piece won't come together. So I prefer an evolution of art and being more expressive than being very tight and planned out.
Yeah, we're just not going to get along then, are we?
We can coexist. It's
I've tried it. I've tried it. I've tried actually going, do you know what? I'm just going to make an almighty, I'm just going to do little broad strokes. Let's just get the brush. Let's just do broad strokes. And then let's just do this. And then let's just chuck it out because it looks an absolute mess. And I can't even see kind of any kind of types of shapes. So I do like the kind of but I find it kind of very, very relaxing because it's almost like if I'm, say, drawing kind of like multiple lines on something. If I'm doing some like fine detail like the hair, where I'll generally go in and go, here's a hair, and here's another hair, and I'm able to kind of almost like zone out, so the rest of my brain goes like, oh, he's doing hair, I'm just gonna have a break here, and it kind of allows me to kind of reach a kind of a state of relaxation almost.
For sure.
Which is kind of pretty kind of cool. So commercially, is this what you're doing on a day-to-day basis? Are you you mentioned kind of graphic design. So from a day-to-day basis, is that what you're doing? Kind of like in order to bring the money?
It is creative, but it's more on the marketing side and strategy. So I work with businesses that want to target older folks, 55 plus. Yeah. And put together, advertising programs, website design, the tools they're going to need, and the messaging and the visuals that are going to appeal to older folks.
Do you find that's kind of like usability and things like that as well? Do you have to consider kind of like the audience? Because my mother, for instance, it's only recently that she's kind of discovered Amazon and kind of online food shopping when she wasn't able to get about as much as she could do. So we kind of introduced her, and she was, I'm not putting my credit card in any damn internet site. And I was like, God, yes, but what happens is you put your details in, and then a nice man or woman comes along with some boxes of food that you can then put in your cupboard and you can feed yourself, kind of thing. So we're trying to kind of persuade them. Yeah. So is that what do you kind of have to kind of overcome or look at overcoming the boundaries, as in kind of like, this has to look wonderful and enticing, but also at the same time, we don't want to have people coming along and saying, I can't use the damn thing, so I'm just away, kind of thing. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. Using a larger font size, for example, and making sure your font choice is bold enough for older eyes to view, and contrast between colors is so critically important, because if they can't read your message, you're not communicating with them and it's not working. So absolutely, making sure that readability and also conveying trust, because older folks are hesitant to, they've been warned about scams and, the frightening things that can happen on the internet. So you really need to reassure and through your words and actions that you're not over collecting info to frighten them away. Yeah. And that you're demonstrating knowledge on the topic that you're promoting.
Are you finding that you're getting approached by companies that you would consider normally service a younger clientele as well, as the population kind of generally ages and everybody's going, okay, boomer, but the boomers are saying, well, we got all the money, so, you need to advertise to us, kind of thing, yeah?
Yes. The bulk of my business has been in real estate, condos and lifestyle retirement communities. So they know that their users are going to be older. But more recent, over the last couple of years, I've been with businesses that have been smart enough to see that opportunity and have adjusted their offering to cater to an older clientele. And they've received a lot of success from it, because there are so many affluent older folks that once you gain their trust, they have a large income to share and just proportionate to us.
Yes. Yeah. I'm not. Yes, just here's a nice website. Give me your money. But it's kind of helping them understand that they can spend their money in a nicer way as long as it's on kind of our website. Do you, in terms of kind of like the tabletop side of things and the board game side of things, is it something that you kind of dip into? I mean, how aware were you of that? I mean, obviously, I'm guessing you were aware of games like Monopoly and if like everybody else is, but are you also involved in the hobby kind of in what we'd call the more kind of modern tabletop stuff as well?
Well, I am now. Through my association with Richard and Analog, I've been in more board game cafes and board game shops over the last several years than I had been up until that point.
Yeah.
We have a family cottage, and, spent many weekends all throughout the year playing lots of board games.
Yeah.
So certainly the old classics, Battleship, Monopoly, Sorry, Scrabble. I've played all of them endless times. Trivial Pursuit was really big here where we are. And it was a great bonding time with your friends or your family, or both. So, I have very good memories of what board games mean and represent and how they bring people together.
Yeah.
And so that's what compelled me to, design one myself after seeing, what board games are out currently and where I perceived there might be a little opportunity or a little untapped audience that could be enjoying them too.
When you were going in the board game cafe, like as an artist, were you surprised by the kind of the depth and the level that kind of today's board games kind of go to, kind of like in an artistic sense? Because the diversity in terms of art presentation is in some ways staggering. But was that something that was kind of like, you were like, ooh, this is kind of, was it something that kind of caught your eye when you first went into your first couple of board game cafes?
Definitely, and overwhelming, just seeing the sheer volume of every type of topic you can imagine.
Yeah.
And the visual overload of color and, stylized fonts and different stories they were all telling. It was a little unexpected, for sure.
And did it give you then the confidence to say, well, actually, I might as well put my game out there as well and let it kind of join the kind of the throng? Because people are doing games about, steam trains and salmon ladders and being in a lift and working at a fruit stall.
Mushrooms,
and things like Incan gods. It's like you can flip through an encyclopedia and you can find a game that's based, there's a board game kind of based around it, kind of thing. So did that?
But there wasn't. Yeah.
Wow.
There wasn't one based on ballet. And, not only that, I was looking around in these shops and cafes saying where, I saw lots of heroes, like knights and gladiators and Vikings, swordsmen of all descriptions. And I looked around, I couldn't find any female heroes or heroines. So I'm like, where are the girl characters? I don't see any. And, even up until this point, I've seen a few Japanese anime female characters, like heroines that are leading the cover.
Yeah.
But other than that, there's a huge gap of, there's nothing. So that really bothered me, actually. And when I chatted with some of the staff at the shops, they said, we have a lot of times dads will come in or grandparents looking for a game and they say, do you have any games specifically for girls? And they don't know what to show them. So when I heard that, I thought, yes, I'm going to give them something. I think girls deserve a game, and boys can play it too. Don't get me wrong. We have, male dancers are well represented in the game, but I wanted something very special that girls could play. Maybe board game dads and dance dads could introduce it to their daughters or their girlfriends that danced in their upbringing as well, but it would serve as a gateway game, to bring more women into girls into board gaming, because going to cons and other board game events, it is a disproportionate amount of guys to girls, and so I hope that this is the start of what could potentially be more girl themed games. To bring more and to grow the audience of women into board gaming.
Yeah, I think it's there's always, it's the same old phrase that gets taught out, but there's more work that needs to be done, and we kind of support kind of inclusivity in gaming. but we're not. I wouldn't invite you on the show and say, "Here's Elisa. She's a woman who's designed the game," because that I don't. I don't agree with having. We'll never have a woman in. Here's a woman in gaming #month. We'll never ever do that. If there's designers. I've had Elizabeth Hargrave on the show. Carla
Right.
Kopp, I'd have them on the show, but I didn't get them on the show because they were female designers. I got them in the show because I was interested in, talking to them as people about their games and about their experiences. And I think, you're right, in terms of representation, I think, there is still a lot of the kind of well, she looks cold with her sword kind of thing. There's still kind of that kind of thing. Funnily enough, I think, the tabletop role-playing stuff seems to be getting kind of better representation because I guess in order to have females represented in the role-playing hobby, they just need to turn up. They're not looking for a particular kind of game box to say, well, this is the type of game that I kind of want to play, I guess. So it's an ongoing thing. It's a continual thing, and it's a continual hot debate of folks saying, well, why do you have to change my game? And then there's a lot of people saying, well, if you change the game, it brings more people in, which means it brings more money in, which means it brings more interest, which means we get other games and different games. And games like Wingspan kind of proved that. It was a game that, a lot of people kind of went, oh, I'm not sure. And then they played it and they went, oh, well, we probably wouldn't have had a game like Wingspan and we would be doing kind of other games. So it's kind of interesting. It's very, very kind of interesting. What, I mean, you say, you were in the store and you went, well, what kind of game can we make? But did you go through quite a big development process when you were developing on Pointe? It has gone through kind of various kind of iterations when you were developing the game.
Yeah, I mean, the hardest part for me was trying to figure out how to best represent dance and the movement of dance in a board game. So that really took some deep thinking into. I wanted it to really feel like the experience of the journey of a dancer, starting out at the very beginning dance class and working his or her way, through rehearsals and becoming part of the corps de ballet, and then finally, becoming a star. But moving through not only that progression of ballet, but also in order to get from the very start to a star, everybody needs to take the same steps, literally. The hours spent and the diligence of practicing ballet movement is really what gets you, from the beginning to the end.
Was it? Did you end up kind of adding more things in or stripping things out as you were kind of playing the game? Was there some things that kind of like you went, oh, this just isn't, it's not going to work, or it's not practical, or there was the things that you put in that you went, this is it, this is really kind of helping move everything kind of forward?
Definitely. It was a process over a number of months. We had it play tested at a number of designer nights at board game cafes here in our local city. And, designers gave us a lot of good feedback and some not so good feedback, but that's important too, because it really helps you hone in on what it is you're looking to accomplish with your game. And, certain things weren't working, which we modified. I had a card that was maybe a little bit harsh. It would move you ahead and move all your other players back. Yeah. But people found it a bit punitive. So, we removed it. And using a catch-up mechanism so that whoever's trailing gets to start the next round, that evolved over time and through some suggestions from others that helped us really hone in and refine the gameplay.
I mean, the board's huge. I mean, it is like you're saying, well, I'm moving through the stages, and it's not a case that it's a small board. You are literally going from the rehearsal room to the kind of the final kind of big stage. I mean, was that part of the plan? Did you say, well, we could represent it by, people getting different cards now or something? But you just say, no, I want I want wooden flooring. I want proper marble. I want highlights and stuff like that. You kind of very, very kind of clear on it as well.
Absolutely. It's photorealistic because, unfortunately, ballet gets cutesified, if that's even a word. But, if you try to illustrate it, right, they're okay, awesome. It's rare that other than Degas, it's rare that an artist or illustrator can do a good job illustrating the particular precise movements of ballet. And I couldn't I couldn't have it not be representative of, ballet is about precision and perfection. So there wasn't any other way, as far as I was concerned, other than showing photorealistic environments and also the movements on the cards, right? It's all intentional. And it is a journey right from the start to the end. Literally, you see it there. And I also wanted it to look like a race and to be very straightforward. This is a gateway game. So I wanted people not to be intimidated. So they look at it and say, oh, okay, I start here, I end there. That's pretty obvious, right? Yeah. But the unique thing about the game is it allows for some strategy along the way. So maybe when you first get the game as an 8-year-old, you're playing in a more simplistic way. But then as you grow into the game and your strategy skills improve, you can start utilizing some of the additional tools that are available to boost your score and, outwit your opponent.
Are you doing like a Black Swan expansion to it?
I've had lots of ideas from very competitive gamers of how to take this to the next level. And there is a Black Swan card. Yes, there is. But full expansion to get it dark, possibly it could be in the works.
Well, not kind of maybe dark. Not too, a little bit dark. Kind of slightly dark. Yeah. Just, maybe. I don't know. Maybe. But...
There are many evil characters in ballet. A lot of bad things happen. People are poisoned and stabbed and meet untimely deaths. So it's a possibility.
Yeah, somebody always said to me, it's like if somebody says you can't never insult somebody who's actually a ballet dancer, because if they decide they're actually going to knock you to the floor, they could probably knock you through the floor into the floor below that and kind of thing like that. Yeah, I think it's, I kind of, my cousin used to do ballet, and I remember just it was like, but you're incredibly small, and then them just kind of, kicking through brick walls, and I'm just going, oh, okay, I'm gonna leave you alone, and I'm gonna kind of potentially kind of be quiet as well. Due to the nature of the game and the genre of the game, and because it's not kind of barbarians running about with swords, have you thought about doing barbarians running about in swords and tutus? Because that would be absolutely amazing. And and then you could use the figures from the game Conan. I think that would be, and you could get little kind of tutus that you put around the little Conan miniatures, and then you can have them jumping back and forward with their swords, and you could include the bad guys in that as well. I think you could kind of do everything. But has it been? Well, it's I'm just, if you decide to take these ideas and make them your own, it's entirely up to you. It's entirely up to yourself. Okay. All I'm just saying is that Conan was always seen as a game that was delivered quite late through Kickstarter, and I know a lot of people had a little bit of buyer's regret. And all I'm saying is, if you could maybe say to people, if you've got your game of Conan and if you're finding you're not playing it as much as possible, you can include this rule set with On Pointe, so you can use your barbarian characters in a kind of a dance-off type thing.
I'll think about it. I'm not sure.
You're not sounding convinced at all. But no, but in all seriousness, is it been more trickier to build the noise and get reviews and engage with the media because it is a game about ballet?
Yes and no. We know that this is a unique game and doesn't have appeal, as much as a typical Conan Gladiator type of game. That's fine. But we've discovered through our promotion that there are so many people that are connected to dance and to ballet, and we never would have expected it. The biggest backers of this game are dance dads that are buying it because their children are in dance and they want to get them as a gift, and they love gaming, board gaming, so they want to play it with their children.
Yeah.
So the people, there's been so many people that used to dance or have children that dance. So that's been a lot more than we thought. And also, too, at a couple of the cons that I've been to, it's been really shocking to see how excited traditional gamers are about playing it and getting right into decorating their tutu and really competitive to try to grab the tiara.
I think if there's one thing that's good about the board game community is that we're fairly open to kind of trying kind of different things, and there's things that sell. I mean, you're going back to, there are things that are always going to kind of like sell and catch people's eyes, and you can't, a good looking body is always going to have turn heads, as they would say, but also the way that we're going, because I think there's games about igloos and dolphins and coral reefs and everything like that. If you said to somebody, well, it's a game, what's it about? It's ballet. I think one of the good things about the tabletop community is you're not going to get, I'm not going to play that, because people, again, going back to Wingspan, while there was people that went, oh, it's birds, I'm not going to play that, there was a lot of people that sat down and there's a lot of people, and eggs, and there was a lot of people that sat down afterwards and they got up and they went, this is actually really, really good. So I think people are willing. There's always a slight fear of missing out with things, and people don't want to be kind of leaving kind of PAX Unplugged or Gen Con or wherever and going, or the shut up and sit down conference and going, everybody's ranting and raving about that, and I just walked past the stand like the fool that I am and missed out on one of the best big gaming experiences of the show. So I think people are quite happy to kind of maybe experience it and kind of get into it, which is always kind of good.
Absolutely.
Has this given you a kind of a bug to say, this is funded, so people are going to end up getting their copy. So there's going to be really, really happy people, potentially ballet dads, prancing about the living room with their copy in their hand, being absolutely delighted that they can put King of Tokyo to one side and they can actually get in with a serious game and play the Black Swan card. But has this opened you up to say, well, this wasn't too bad, this wasn't a terrible experience, what else can I kind of do? And with you getting more exposure in the board game community, is there other game ideas which have started to formulate in your mind, which you're thinking, maybe I should do this next?
Yeah, I've been bitten by the board game bug, I suppose. I have one other that I'm working on, and really, again, it's at the point where you want to develop a mechanic that's really unique, that I don't want to, assign a mechanic that already exists to the game. I have the theme in mind, but really looking to come up with something that hasn't existed before. So that's a lofty goal and will take some time, but certainly the experience of Kickstarter is quite thrilling, and putting together the game and all the effort and to actually get it a printed copy and see it realized will be very encouraging to get me to motivated to complete that one as well.
Is it going to be something completely different? Are you staying within the same kind? Is it going to be more dance stuff, or are you going to do,
it's nature. Nature. Yeah.
I want to say,
but not birds.
But not birds
or eggs.
We're calling it tailspin. Maybe. But it's not birds. Is it?
Not
No,
birds.
it's not. It's not ducks then. No, ducks are birds.
Not ducks
listening.
either.
Not
Nope.
They're birds. They're birds. I'm not gonna sit here and guess because otherwise
Okay.
she's just gonna hang up on me. But in terms of games that you're playing now, I mean, is there games that you are getting interested in that you're starting to kind of play? Are you building up a little collection, Elisa?
Oh, I'm staring at it right now. It's huge.
Oh, right. Okay.
Floor to ceiling. So yeah,
Really?
we're right into it now. Yeah. And because I took a gap of playing board games, from my childhood up until a couple years ago, there's a ton that I'm still getting through all the really good ones, like Pandemic, for example.
Yeah.
That's a favorite of mine. And
Yeah.
I'm playing Azul. We're wearing our tiles out
Right.
from playing that game. There's so many, and really been discovering it. Monthly a few more favorites. So,
Are you? Did you do the art design? Were you involved in the art design for On Point then? Did you do a lot of that art yourself then?
We did have a production artist, but I was heavily involved in the art direction. Selecting all of the images that we used. But certainly we had a wonderful illustrator, Michael, and he put the magic of light to the board game, and beautiful textures to all the pieces, the game pieces as well.
I could just imagine you kind of sneaking in at work and going, okay, this brief, it's all about ballet and old people. And it's like, what? We're going to be persuading old people to do ballet. So all we're going to do is I just need you to design this. And this is going to be a couple of days kind of thing. And getting people to kind of help. That's not true.
Well, board games are great for brain fitness, right? And they're actually showing that you can starve or delay dementia or Alzheimer's by keeping your brain fit by learning new things. And board games are one of the best ways, and ballet, as a matter of fact. But board games certainly are, because they're social, but you're also learning something new. It's great for longevity and healthy aging.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're always talking about, I've seen this video recently, this 90-year-old woman doing yoga. And she goes, look how flexible I am. And it's just like, what are you doing? And she's just like all over the place.
Yeah.
And she says, I'm just keeping myself fit and supple. And it's like, if I can do it, I started this when I was 60 years old, and I'm still thinking, maybe there's time for me. But
Absolutely.
not today. But
not
maybe,
today.
yeah,
Okay.
not today, definitely. Maybe in the future.
Maybe ballet?
I had a bad experience with ballet, and I'm just, I thought I was going somewhere, and then it turned out, I should have been doing this when I should have been doing a play, and it's just, I can't really talk about it. I'll talk about it at some time, but not today. It's
when
just,
you're
it's
ready.
still when I'm ready, it just hurts at the moment. It just hurts too damn much. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
That's fine.
Sorry
We can move on. In terms of if people have listened along and they want to buy a ticket at the door, how much do they need to pledge in order to get themselves a copy of the game?
Well, we've got, the game is $39. There's also shipping charges based on your location. So it's a $50 MSRP. So you're getting a discount by pre-ordering it through Kickstarter. So
if people have listened along and they are wanting to keep an eye on your good self and everything that you're going to be doing in the future, where do you exist on the internet webs?
Gosh. Well, On Point Game is on Facebook.
Okay.
As well. Analog Game Studios is, and that's the best way to connect with me and to see what future games I've got in the pipeline, as well as what Analog is offering too. So Excellent. Analog Game Studios would be the best spot. On Instagram Excellent. As well, and Twitter. What the heck?
There you go. Everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere. Excellent. What I'll do is I'll also make sure that the link to the Kickstarter campaign also goes on in the show notes as well, and it'll be going out in a couple of our social media accounts as well. If you want to keep an eye on what we're up to, it's quite simple. Go to the internet web, search for We're Not Wizards, and you shall find us in all the various worn out places and worn out faces. And we have our Twitter, we have our Instagram, we have our blog, which is we'renotwizards.blogspot.com. We've got our main site, which is we'renotwizards.com. You can check us out on YouTube, where we do the worst videos ever. I'm not going to even try and build them up to be anything more than they are. They're terrible, but we're hoping to fail upwards, basically, as it seems to be a common thing nowadays. If you like what you've listened to, then go and give us a rating or a review on the podcast catcher of choice. Even the ones that don't have the word pod or the word cast in them, like, say, Player FM. If you like us even more, go to Apple Podcasts and consider giving us a rating or a review. If you are going to be doing such a thing, then do not give us 10 stars because it makes us big-headed, but at the same time, do not crush us by giving us 1 star because that will make us cry. Give us something in the middle, like 5, because it's average, and we're just a little bit average, but the person who's not been average is a rather wonderful, rather fantastic Elisa Prashad. So thank you. Thank you very, very much for coming on. There's only 2 more things to do. The first thing is to remember that we're many things, but we're not wizards. Are we wizards, Elisa?
No.
Absolutely
We are not wizards.
Definitely not. Primas, that's what we are.
You got it.
And the second thing is to say goodbye, so it's a goodbye from Elisa. Say goodbye, Elisa.
Goodbye, and thanks for listening.
And it's a goodbye from me. Remember, stay safe, roll 6s, make something awful, and get yourself on point. But until the next time, goodbye.
A wizard is never licked. Nor is he early. He arrives precisely when he means to.